There's a sentence you hear a lot in conversations about faith. I just don't feel it anymore. Not anger, not rebellion, just emptiness. And for many people, that feeling becomes the final word. If faith no longer feels alive, they assume something must be wrong with faith itself. But what if the problem isn't the absence of emotion, but the expectation that emotion was ever meant to carry the weight of faith? That's one of the most subtle dangers exposed in the Screwtape Letters, written by C.S. Lewis long before we lived in a feelings-first culture. Here's the strategy. Make feelings the foundation of faith. Not truth, not obedience or trust. Feelings. Lewis shows the enemy working hard to convince people that if their emotions cool, their faith must be failing. And once faith is tied to feeling, it becomes fragile, unstable, easy to manipulate. Because feelings change daily, sometimes hourly. In the Screwtape Letters, Screwtape explains something critical to his nephew Wormwood. God does not keep people in a constant emotional high. He allows seasons of dryness, silence, ordinariness. Why? Because real love isn't proven by how someone feels, but by whether they remain faithful when the feelings fade. The demons, on the other hand, love emotional dependency. They want the patient to believe, if I don't feel close to God, he must be distant. If prayer feels dull, it must be pointless. Lewis understood that emotional droughts are not spiritual failures. They're part of spiritual maturity. Fast forward to today. We live in a culture where feelings are treated as facts. If something feels true, it is true. If something feels harmful, well, it's harmful. If something feels loving, it must be good. So faith gets filtered through emotion. People say things like, I don't feel fed, or that church didn't meet my needs. How about this one? Worship just didn't move me. Or here you go. I don't feel close to God anymore. And slowly, without realizing it, faith becomes a consumer experience. If it inspires me, I stay. If it challenges me, I leave. If it comforts me, it's good. If it convicts me, it's suspect. That's not discipleship. That's emotional management. This tactic works because emotions are powerful, but unreliable. Feelings make great servants. They make terrible masters. When emotions lead, truth gets reshaped to protect comfort. Conviction gets labeled as harm. Endurance gets labeled as suppression. Lewis saw this clearly. If the enemy can make you trust your feelings more than God's character, you'll abandon faith the moment obedience stops feeling rewarding. And obedience will stop feeling rewarding, sometimes for long stretches. That's not a bug in faith. That's the training ground. You don't fight emotional Christianity by rejecting emotion. You fight it by reordering it. Feelings are real, they matter, but they are not in charge. Faith grows when you pray, even when it feels dry, or when you obey, even when it feels costly. It grows when you worship, even when it feels ordinary, or when you trust, even when you feel nothing. Mature faith doesn't ask, how does this make me feel? It asks, is this faithful? Lewis understood this deeply. God is more interested in forming steadfast souls than emotionally dependent ones. One of the enemy's greatest lies is this: if God were really with you, you'd feel it. But Scripture tells a different story. Faith isn't proven by intensity. It's proven by endurance. Feelings come and go. Truth remains. And trust is built in the long stretches where obedience feels quiet, ordinary, and unseen. Lewis reminds us that emotional highs don't make saints. Faithful perseverance does. In the next episode, we'll look at another tactic Lewis exposes, the tyranny of the present. How living only for the moment shrinks eternity out of view. Until then, don't confuse feeling distant with being abandoned. If this episode connected with you, share it with someone who might need it. Leave a review wherever you're listening and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. If you follow me on Substack, you can read the 4-part series of The Quiet War for the Soul. Type in dannytippett.substack.com. Tippett is spelled Tippit, same backwards as forwards. Thanks for listening to It Makes Sense. Until next time, keep thinking clearly, living faithfully, and paying attention. God bless.